Talofalava, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Susana Swiswiki. Coming up, Polyfest begins this week. Also,
it represents our identity, and also it connects us to our land, to our forest.
West Papua's Noken Bag, the knotted legacy of resilience. And
many of our environment is just used as open dump sites.
Pacific countries urged to do better with waste management. The official program for the 50th anniversary of Polyfest opened this week. A Papua welcomed the participants to the Manukau Sports Bowl in South Auckland. Over 4 days, more than 60 schools and thousands of performers will take to the stages to celebrate an array of cultures. And joining me is our digital reporter, Coco Lance, who was at the opening. Talofalava, Coco, what was the atmosphere like at the Papua?
I mean, the Polyfest vibe is always buzzy and everyone is always keen to get involved and play a role. So the atmosphere at this morning's Papua was hearty. There was a good edge of excitement as everybody gears up for what is bound to be a standout week in Polyfest's history for the 50th anniversary. So it was good, there was a nice sense of unity, and it was great to see a lot of host schools interacting. There was lots of waiata and general catch-up, so it was great.
And who was there?
This year the flag raising ceremony was conducted by Tainui Kaumatua, or elders, and different school reps were there to hold the flags. There were stage representatives from all participating stages, so that means Māori, Cook Islands, Niue, Samoa, Tonga and diversity stage representatives, kura matua host schools which included Ngā Puna o Waiorea and other kura host schools for respective stages too. Then a variety of Pacific community leaders, the renowned Mamatupo Manapuri, who was one of Polyfest's founders, was there and given a special shout out. And tangata whenua were there to aid the pōwhiri along, welcome manuhiri and lift that tapu so that the following days can run as smoothly as possible.
And finally, what can we expect in the next few days?
We can expect so much. So members of our RNZ Pacific team will be there on the ground over the next few days, covering it all, the different stages, the colour. We'll be chatting to participants and attendees as well. In terms of what is actually happening, of course, the festival will be one massive feature of traditional music, dance, costume and cultural speech competitions, and there will be over 60 schools and thousands of performers across 6 different stages. So again, this will include 6 stages dedicated to Māori, the Cook Islands, Niue, Samoa, Tonga and a diversity stage that will play host to a variety of different countries and cultures getting involved, including Chinese, Indian, Colombian and Filipino groups.
A PhD student from West Papua has recently opened an exhibition at the University of Auckland alongside Langi Mama Academy and Consultancy. The exhibition is based on Veronica Kanem's research on Noken, or string bags of the Moyo tribe of southern West Papua. I caught up with Veronica Kanem to talk about her exhibition.
Yeah, so the Noken exhibition, or Noken is a West Papuan string bags that represent our identity. This is the first time exhibition happening in Aotearoa, because the idea is to bring the Noken from West Papua to the Pacific, but also this is also part of my thesis submission. So I kind of like celebrating my thesis submissions yesterday with my community and with the people here in Aotearoa.
Tell me, how long have you been researching this cultural practice? And I heard that you've just submitted your PhD today, so congratulations.
Thank you so much. So this is my 4th year, and it just submitted actually yesterday, and just together with the celebration. So it's just a perfect moment yesterday, you know. So it's been a long journey in the last 4 years. But I live with the Noken culture. I live with the Noken knowledge. So, yeah, it's part of my life, actually.
What was it about the string bags that made you think, hey, I feel that this is important to explore and share with the world? What was it?
Because the Noken or the string bag is represent our identity, and also it connect us to our land, to our forest, where the materials is gathered from our forest, and it's not just a normal bag. It's a lot, like it contains social and cultural values, where the Noken usually use as a gift to strengthen and maintain our relationship with our family, with friends, with trading partners, or also establish a new connection to the new people or visitors. And this bag is also used in various traditional events, cultural or rituals, and yeah, that's a lot, I think.
And so because it has so much significance attached to it, you won't normally see this bag being sold at a handicrafts market?
Yes, and then the difference is, like those who sell their Nokens as a souvenir, and then people just come and purchase the Noken without knowledge, without knowing the cultural significance of it. So this is how I just try to spread awareness and also let the people know that Noken is not just a souvenir. This is a lot. This contains cultural significance, social significance for the people of West Papua.
And Veronica, what's been the response so far towards your exhibition?
Yesterday was full of emotion, like people come and people witness and see the ceremony. It's like I have my West Papuan students coming down from Palmerston North, from Waikato, and then they support my exhibition. And a lot of people come, students and my supervisors, the head of the Pacific Studies Department, and it was really positive, and people were so excited and so impressed, with the work. It's not me, but this is my community, the Muyu tribe from my father's side. So yeah, I'm so proud to introduce this work. It's not only my PhD thesis actually, but this is my people works, especially the women, and this is also part of I reciprocate what they have been given to me, their knowledge, their time. So this is actually for my community.
And this is the side of West Papua that people rarely see, right? Because when they hear about West Papua, they think of the political struggles.
Yes, that's absolutely right. So yeah, that West Papua is so wide, and then every region has their own struggle. But for me, because I come from the south, we also has our own struggle. Where nowadays, there are a lot of government projects and initiatives that want to take over our land and our forest, which will threaten our Noken weaving. Because the material for making this bag, it's from the forest. So we cannot replace it with the synthetic yarn or anything, because it doesn't represent our identity. Because the life cycle of the Noken is just like a life, taken from the forest, taken from the land, and then when it's damaged, it must come back to the land again. It's not like the synthetic yarn, It cannot come back to the land because it cannot be dissolved.
And when you talk about those that want to take over the land, are you referring to the Indonesian government?
I am referring to the, yes, Indonesian government, the state government, the Jakarta government. They just initiate a new project. They call it Project Strategis Nasional or National Strategic Project recently, which will take 1.6 million hectares of indigenous land in southern Papua and is threatening the indigenous people of West Papua.
Thank you so much, Veronica, for sharing that. We'll come back to the exhibition. So I'm just wondering, how long will it be up for?
So the opening was yesterday, and it will be until 3 of July. So it's still there, yeah.
The founder of the Pacific Recycling Foundation says there's a waste management crisis in the Pacific and countries cannot ignore it. Amitesh Deo says grassroots organizations and people in the informal sector who depend on recyclables need to be factored into discussions about the way forward. Mr. Dale spoke with Koroi Hawkins, who began by asking what determines that there's a waste management crisis.
It's apparent in many ways. For example, many of our environment is just used as open dump sites. People, the amount of littering, the way we deal with the waste, and the way we deal with not just waste but the people engaged in that spaces. So it's two elements. So we can see that. We can also see the impact of climate change on our people, on our environment, and this is also seen across the Pacific. There is good data, good narrative now available on how improper waste management is affecting people's livelihood, their food source supply, the severe forms of impact of climate change or through natural disasters and all of that. So that is very, very apparent, and we can. All communities everywhere is trying to deal with. If you come to Fiji, for example, between Suva to Nassori is an area called Nasino. It's a very heavily populated area. You will not go past the next few meters without seeing a pile of rubbish there. So it becomes it's become a real environmental issue, as well as the people element. When we talk about the human rights issue, the individuals engaged in that space, the CPRs, the collection pillars of recycling, and even us informal sector, you go through a certain level of stigma, where because your work involves dealing with rubbish, what the world calls rubbish, but we call recyclables, because of that narrative, you are always looked down at. And that's something that we have been always sort of dealing with. So the stigma that's attached to it. For example, we've spoken about this before last year when one of the women, CPRs, 2 years ago actually, in a workshop spoke about how she went to the hospital, a government hospital, and she filled out her form saying that she's an informal waste picker. And the attendant had to come and ask her later that the doctor wanted to know if she had had her shower before coming to the hospital, because he wouldn't want to see her until he knows that she has had a shower, because the negative stigma attached that she will smell of rubbish just because her work is there. So there's been several such incidents we have personally faced and all of that. So ensuring that the work done by this group is also treated as a trade, treated with dignity, because they are doing an important work and all of that. So around the change of narrative of how we see. So waste management for us is a crisis. It's no longer just a problem, it's a crisis because it is impacting our environment. It's got social justice issues. There's a stigma attached to the work. It's also got economic impact because of the improper disposal of waste. There's so much economic opportunities. There's so much that is at stake, including our tourism sector. If our beaches and all of that gets covered with the rubbish, with the recyclables, we are at the risk of losing our tourism sector. And a lot of that is already known. When tourists come to some of these destinations and they post pictures that they were expecting something pristine or something that they saw on the web pages, but they come to find beaches covered with plastic bottle and all of that. So we need to change that very quickly.
You mentioned regional and international participation in this year's event in Fiji. What's the regional strategy for this, or is there a regional strategy for this in the Pacific?
Yeah, so one of the biggest challenge we have why the region matters to us is because all of us are very small nations. We don't have enough volumes of recyclables. For example, in Fiji, we have 700,000 people. In others, it's smaller. So the volumes of recyclables makes it very hard for us to to justify business models because we don't have the volumes of recyclables. So the collaboration with the regional countries is very important because all of us are doing bits and pieces. But if we combine that and we have a strategy to combine our recyclables, we can then have recycling facilities that will not just impact one country, it will impact everybody. It's also beyond that of high-level meetings that gets organized where we have expensive meetings we need to shift from those, and we need to actually recognize that in regional spaces, work is actually already happening. How do we harness that? How do we bring together a collective approach that the Pacific region becomes one, and we can create a regional recycling hub models to support regional efforts around that. And the impact of that, again, will be on all of these Pacific Island countries. We have started work in that space with our regional partners. In terms of strategies, there is discussions happening right now with SPREP and with University of New South Wales to take a very strategic approach to highlight strategies there and to develop feasibilities that how do we connect all of these islands into one or two or three regional hubs to deal with different products. So a lot of work is already in discussions at this stage with that.
This is feasible for big urban centers and places where there's some form of structure to the streets, having a municipality, all of that kind of stuff. But like for the majority of our populations in the Pacific that live in remote rural areas with even basic government services lacking, what is the conversation about waste management?
Yeah, so rural areas and outer islands become even more challenging. We don't have solutions. And part of our outlook is also our Look Beyond movement, which calls upon that waste management solutions should not be for privileged communities, should not be for urban centers only, because that's where it gets restricted. So yeah, in rural areas, most of rural areas don't have solutions. In farming communities, they also have another set of issue where most of their pesticides come into plastic containers and all of that, but there's no way to collect it, so they end up digging, or bearing these very harmful containers because there's plastic residue, but there's also toxic residue. So, and then this is on the same land that these communities depend on for their survival. So it's quite a big problem, but we have in Fiji at least implemented one or two programs in outer islands, in rural areas, and there's plans to implement an outer island program in Taveuni in Fiji. But we'll need to take strategic approach. It has to all run parallel, that we can't leave one community behind. But attached to it also, Koroi, is the element of behavior change, that we need to ensure that we are tapping into how do people change their outlook on recyclables and waste, because it's no point implementing bins anywhere without actually people changing their behavior. So our programs is not just how to recycle, but why should one recycle? But outer islands and rural areas, as you pointed out, is a big issue, and nothing has been done. At least by our organizations have started some conversations and discussions, but for a long time, nothing has been done for those communities.
That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple, and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, tō whā soifua.